Hello everyone. How is it going? I know, Denise. A lot of people want to see me get out and go bar hopping. I need to go get a haircut first. But, as is, let me bring in the mic again. Mike, are you there?
Yeah, the mic is here.
Oh, wait. Oh, am I talking about the mic or the other mic?
I don't know.
Which mic issue were we having from earlier?
That was the other mic, not this mic, but the other one.
Ah, yes, that's right. That's right. Okay, that mic is good. The mic I'm talking to, that's responding back.
Hey, King 9. What's up, brother?
But, yeah, I know, guys. You guys want to see me get back out there. I've been busy dealing with all kinds of other stuff, and I need to get a haircut, and I just haven't been awake to go get a damn haircut during the workday. Or I've been busy, one of the two. But, Mike Blue here.
Yeah, man.
Tell us, what do we got to talk about today?
Well, on the 7th, Portland Police Bureau saw fit to respond in a very overtly violent, murderous way to a mental health crisis and ended up murdering a man named John Elifritz inside a homeless shelter in front of dozens of witnesses. And we're going to be going through the heinous behavior of the pigs in my own backyard. And first, I'd like to make a statement for Portland Police Bureau. To the cowardly officers that murdered John Elifritz, I will tell you this. I've given your names and your photographs to dozens of activists, dozens of anarchists. Every time you show up at a protest, you show up at a crowd control situation, you show up at City Hall, you show up anywhere public where there's anarchists especially, you will be called the contemptible coward wretches that you are. You will be called out for your violence, and you'll be made to feel the error of your ways. I'm not talking about violence. I'm talking about public ridicule and ire, because that is the point of what I do, is to shame you. I want you to quit your jobs. Have some integrity. Quit your jobs. You obviously murdered this man in front of dozens of witnesses. All right, end of statement.
Yeah. And, oh, before I forget, today's music was done by TechnoAxe. Back to the grime. Anyway, getting back to it, shall we go ahead and open up with our the video of what happened?
Yeah, man. Let's go through the snuff film that Portland Police Bureau decided to provide the public with. Well, they didn't provide it. The cell phone video was basically not snatched up by the cops miraculously. But yeah, let's watch John Elifritz's murder by Portland Police Bureau.
Get out from behind them! Hey, move! Come on! You in?
Oh my God, please God. I am.
Mike, why did the police have him cornered in that building in the first place? Let's get some further context behind the entire situation before we dive into the
Sure.
your article here.
Okay, basically Elifritz was having a mental health crisis. Calls started coming into Portland Police Bureau in the early afternoon. We do know by statements made to his family by the media that he was having problems with methamphetamine addiction. He was currently seeking treatment. He was struggling with it. He made a call to Portland Police Bureau stating in a drug drugged state, he stated that his family was murdered earlier in the day. The police show up and investigate if this was the truth or not, and they determined that, you know, he basically gave them the address of a dwelling that no one lived at. They made contact with Elifritz, and he held a knife to his throat and expressed suicidal ideations. Portland Police Bureau, in their wisdom, decided to, quote, de-escalate the situation. That's what the corporate media said, and leave him alone and not take him into custody. A couple hours go by, and he allegedly carjacks someone, drives, there's this crazy driving through town. There's another allegement that Elifritz tried to carjack someone else and then finally crashes his vehicle. Then he runs into, according to eyewitness accounts, a Sinclair gas station. I think it was Sinclair. Well, a gas station across the street from this homeless shelter where he was gunned down in. He flees. There's a Portland Police Bureau radio report that he was standing in a doorway near the homeless shelter holding a knife to his throat again. Then he enters the homeless shelter and asks for a shirt because it was raining and cold. And he puts a jacket on from a bin. There was an NA meeting going on in the homeless shelter, in the city team homeless shelter. I don't believe that he was attending that NA meeting. I think that that was just a weird happenstance that he was in drug treatment and he just so happened to go into a shelter that had an NA meeting going on. But that's when you see the dozen officers aiming their weapons inside the door. You following, buddy?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I was just making sure because on my YouTube channel it says this video is unavailable, and I'm hoping that the people can actually see it. But it says my stream health is fine, so I'm not going to trip on it. So at the point where the video starts, that's Elifritz has gotten the jacket out of the clothes bin. The reason why I know this stuff in such graphic detail is there's been a whole lot of reporting on this. I have the radio reference scanner communication. I've listened to the timeline of all the police reports. And the things that jump out at my mind about the corporate news coverage of this is the simple fact that Portland Police Bureau made contact with him earlier. And he was holding a knife to his throat and he was talking about killing himself. And corporate media is characterizing that as de-escalation. That is just a massive load of horse crap. That's not de-escalation. That's abandoning somebody who's in a mental health crisis. Portland Police Bureau's first major F-up of the day is not following Elifritz, asking for backup, and taking him into custody and putting him on a mental health hold for his own safety and the safety of the public. You know, that was the first mess up on their behalf. Now, also, if you go through the video, you know, watch it at home, folks, but I went through it one frame at a time. Elifritz is armed. He's carrying a carpet knife, a retractable carpet knife with a blade that's somewhere between 22 centimeters and 2 inches. That's the maximum length for that type of carpet knife. Now, Elifritz never made, according to the at least dozen eyewitnesses that I interviewed, never made an aggressive movement towards any other individual. He was holding a knife to his throat, and he actually, according to the eyewitnesses that I interviewed, cut himself on both sides of his neck. Now, you know, things that jump out. The police were shooting at him from behind obstacles. He made no furtive or aggressive movement towards police, you know. And the article that we're going to go through will show you all the type of police training and all the weapons that all these police had at their disposal that they could have taken Elifritz into custody without ending his life. Now, there's also a bunch of stuff in corporate media, as they always do, when there's a death that has officers involved in it, the corporate media will do what they can to vilify the victim. And in this case, Elifritz has, it's been confirmed by Southern Poverty Law Center and myriad corporate news sources that Elifritz was involved in a prison gang years ago called the Aryan Kindred. He was a member of some racist right-wing gang or whatever in prison. And it's pretty radical stuff. But my thoughts are as this. The reason why there are civil rights in this country, and you have a right to be safe and secure in your papers, persons, effects, property, yada, yada, yada. The ultimate piece of private property is your own body. You have a right to not be deprived of your freedom or your liberty or your life, without due process of law. There was no judge, no jury, just executioners in this murder. Now, the stuff out of Elifritz's past, I don't care. Civil rights have to be defended and cherished universally. So yeah, let's just get into the article. But
yeah, I was gonna say that,
and crazy.
Yeah, and after if we get done with this article with enough time to spare, there is also, since you eloquently talked about the right and secure of your own persons, I have another article that will just be equally infuriating. But let's go ahead and get started. And this is a steemit article that Mike Bluehair wrote up 11 hours ago. So, a few words that come to mind after watching the video. Conducting eyewitness interviews and reading all the news stories about this overt misuse of police force are murder, animalistic, cowardice, contemptible, bumbling, incompetent, chicken shit, trigger-happy, devoid of normal human empathy goons. Well, you get the general idea. Of course, these are all my personal opinions, and opinions, as they say, are like assholes and armpits. Everybody's got them, and they stink. These are facts we do know. John Elifritz was contacted by Portland Police Bureau early this afternoon, and contacting officers knew he was suicidal and mentally unstable at that point. We know the Portland Police Bureau is admitting 7 officers and 1 the county sheriff's deputy used force during Elifritz's murder. Instead of putting Elifritz in a mental health hold and taking him into custody of the Bureau right there and transporting him to a medical facility, the police instead decided to back off and leave him alone. Later, the thin blue line worshipping corporate media characterized this abandonment of Elifritz during a mental health crisis as de-escalation. And we got a quote picture. Other officers located Elifritz at Southeast 86th Avenue and Southeast Holgate Boulevard in an attempt to contact him, but he backed away from them, retrieved a knife from his pocket, and held it up to his throat. Elifritz ran from officers, and a decision was to de-escalate the situation by not pursuing him, but rather make a steaming pile of radioactive horse excrement of a news story. And people say that the alternative media is constantly producing fake news. That actually effing is wrong with brainwashed morons that produce this stuff. Abandoning him to the suicidal ideations to take whatever form they took was a fatal mistake that could have claimed more lives than just Elifritz. I'm screwing up my pronunciation.
Elifritz. It's okay.
Elifritz, okay.
Oh, and just so you know, the county that I live in is called Multnomah. It's spelled really weird. It's an American Indian name. But yeah, it's a Multnomah County Sheriff's deputies. But it's really annoying and hard to pronounce when you first see the word.
Well, how should I put it? It works against me with the speech impediment I have. And I'm reading this on the fly. I haven't read this before. So.
I got you. No, you're doing fine. I'm just letting you know that it's annoying. It's a really hard to pronounce.
This fact, on its face, is proof positive Portland Police Bureau failed to act to prevent this man's death early in the day. This fatal failure was first a major fuck-up on the behalf of the Portland Police Bureau. It is painfully obvious to anyone with more than 2 brain cells that this man was indeed a danger to himself and the public. Elifritz, holding a knife to his throat while talking about killing himself in front of officers, should have been a red flag to take him into custody. According to the police radio recordings from this afternoon before murder of Elifritz, called in Portland Police Dispatch that his entire family had been murdered. This report was investigated and proven false by officers. A reasonable person would think that Portland Police Bureau, being under scrutiny of the Department of Justice for their horridly brutal treatment of persons in mental health crisis, would have used resources of their mental health crisis training. This training was added to their collective knowledge base in compliance with Department of Justice settlement. This failure of leaving Elifritz alone to his own devices resulted in him in allegedly gallivanting through town, carjacking people, and ending up crashing a vehicle outside a homeless shelter where Portland Police Bureau's incompetence and cowardice was so flagrantly displayed during his slaying. The reason I call this murder, if these 8 thugs were anyone else, that's exactly what they would be charged with. But since law enforcement enjoy the Portland Police Officers' Bill of Rights, see Article 61, it goes through 3 pages of tyranny and a corporate media that always seems to slant its cop agenda, reporting in a way that favors them well as the legal fiction qualified immunity, and insulating them from accountability in civil or criminal courts. These low-life, contemptible, wretched wastes of skin will more than likely get off scot-free. At no time did Elifritz make an aggressive movement towards police, nor did he make aggressive movements towards any people in the homeless shelter, all the way up to the point where the police murdered him in cold blood. We know from a video evidence and eyewitness testimony that Elifritz was armed with a carpet knife that has a bladed edge of approximately 1 or 2 inches. We also know that there is a minimum of at least 12 officers in a homeless shelter, while Elifritz was gunned down like a rabid animal. And now I'll get to why I believe these cops are low-down, filthy cowards that they are. There are good people in Portland to believe 12 able-bodied men armed with body mechanics techniques, defensive tactics, and pain compliance techniques could subdue and take Elifritz into custody while he was armed with a 2-inch knife. And we have a video to load up for an example here, so I'm going to copy this and bring it over to our watch together.
Yeah, let's have a look at these defensive tactics, just so the audience can get an idea of the stuff that cops are trained in. And I go through all the weapons that they had at their disposal that they failed to use properly.
Hello everyone, I'm Rich Nance with your Defensive Tactics Technique of the Week. Today we're going to be looking at the difference between pain compliance techniques . Frank, we all love pain compliance techniques. They're fun to train in, right?
If you're the delivering person, yes.
The problem is some of those pain compliance techniques can fail you on the street. The most likely reason is because if the person you're doing it to does not feel pain, they're not motivated to comply.
There's an assortment of drugs that will help them not feel pain.
There's a time and a place for it, but I've seen people teach stuff like this. Well, obviously you're going to knock my head off as I'm trying to activate that pressure point, which is a pain compliance technique. Another pain compliance technique is, let's say I've achieved a bar arm control hold, and now I want to take you to the ground. Well, there's what we call a radial nerve takedown, where I'm pulling back here and I'm pushing forward here to kind of wring out all the flexibility in your arm. Thank you. And what I'm going to do there is I'm going to use verbal commands to instruct you, get on the ground, and I'm going to take you to the ground like that, where I have control and can do some handcuffing or whatever the case is. The problem with that technique, again, is that if you are chemically altered, mentally ill, or just extremely highly motivated to where you're impervious to pain, this might result in this, get on the ground, and you really have to have a way to transition out of there. Body mechanics techniques, on the other hand, are based more on whole body movements. So they're things that you can perform when you have the adrenaline coursing through your veins. It's not a fine motor skill like a pressure point or, if I put you in a finger lock right now, it's going to hurt like hell. But on the street, if I'm trying to put you in a finger lock, I'm going to be like this, and you're going to be punching me in the mouth during that. So here's a little more foolproof way to do a takedown from this bar arm technique. And this involves body mechanics. So in other words, this should work if done correctly with sufficient momentum, whether or not you feel pain. So what I'm going to do is called a circle down. I'm here. I'm going to step behind myself with this foot. I'm just kind of spiral him into the mat like this. Down he goes, and from there I can go into my prone handcuffing technique. I can certainly tell him to get on the ground, But really, that's for the spectators. That's for the witnesses to say, officer told him to put him on the ground. It's still a good idea, but you're going to the ground no matter what.
And said, sir.
Yeah, there you go.
We were polite while we put him on the ground.
So make sure that you have some techniques that are not just based on pain compliance, but also techniques that are based on body mechanics and leverage.
Okay, demonstrate one time slow.
Okay, one time slow from the bar arm technique. What I'm going to do is I'm going to step behind myself and start spiraling Frank to the ground. I'm applying downward pressure here, and the spiral action of my body is going to take him to the ground. Now, depending on the dynamics of the encounter, we may do almost a 360-degree turn before he eventually spirals into the ground. So keep that in mind. It's a really good concept.
Question for you. As you're going, you step back. Dependent on size or...
Okay, I think we got a general idea with this one. And my chat's commenting about the less than lethal. Yes, they were firing beanbag rounds at the beginning of the video. You can hear the shots being ring out, and I'm pretty sure that was the less than lethal beanbag rounds being used on them.
Yeah,
go ahead.
That was That was a good place to stop, Bunny. That gives the audience a general idea. Cops are trained in pain compliance, which is basically useless in a lot of ways if the person's amped up on drugs, and body mechanics. So what I'm illustrating is there was 12 armed men that are trained, grown men that are trained in these techniques, and we're supposed to believe that they couldn't take a man armed with a carpet knife into custody or even attempt it, you know. And that's the point I was making, that they're trained in these body mechanics techniques that circumvent, you know, the fact that if you're amped up on drugs, the pain compliance doesn't work. And this is pretty much universal law enforcement training.
Yeah, and one thing I want to add before we move a little bit further, well, actually, you know what? I'll save it for after the next video, because I see it probably will fall into this area. But let's go ahead and continue on with reading your little article here.
Thank you.
Police officers across the continent of Europe disarm knife and even machete-wielding suspects as a matter of common practice. Knowing this irrefutable fact, what's Portland's Police Bureau's excuse for ending Elifritz's life? And we got cops, knife-wielding man attacks cop. Let's see here. Oh wait, no, that's just is that an actual video, or is that that looks like a screenshot on your article? Because I'm clicking on it, nothing's happening. Okay, never mind. That top part's just a screenshot. Okay, this video clearly illustrates a knife-wielding suspect can be effectively taken into custody with ASP batons and pepper spray. So we'll go ahead and copy this.
Put it down now. Put down the knife.
Put it down!
Spray! Put it down! Put it down!
Come on!
Put it down!
Come on,
Put it down!
You now.
Put it down! Put down the knife! Put it down! Put it down! Put it down!
Hey, all right.
Put it down! Get on the floor! Get on the floor!
You're under arrest for possession of an offensive weapon,
Okay.
attempted wounding on ourselves,
Okay.
and threats to cause criminal damage.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So, Mike, you still there?
Yeah, I just want to say that the reason why I'm using this video is the ASP baton is the weapon that Portland Police Bureau have standard equipment on their duty belt. So, and the pepper spray. And yeah, so let's just continue through the article.
Well, there's a part that I want to add. So
okay,
here.
Go ahead.
Now, you don't have to just necessarily use a baton. There was other devices available within that homeless shelter. Do you want to know which one? Which one of those would have been really handy for dealing with an armed person that acts as a way of pinning and shielding?
All those chairs.
Bingo. In fact, actually, there is an old like 1950s or 1960s video that talks about how police are deal with a mentally deranged person who locks himself in a bathroom with a knife. I'll see about maybe pulling that up maybe a little bit later.
Well, that's a very good point, Bunny, and I just have to make this. After interviewing all the gentlemen that I could get my hands on from the homeless shelter where Elifritz was murdered, they were actually, before police arrived, they were actually placing the chairs in the room, encircling him. When the police take him down and murder him, they're shooting from behind cover. There's a wall in the center of the room that protects the stairs, because there's a flight of stairs that goes down to the next level in that corralled area. Now, the side to the furthest most right of the primary shooter, the one that's like in first-person video game angle,
yeah,
that whole area had a whole bunch of chairs and stuff thrown on the ground. So the men in the homeless shelter actually barricaded a makeshift kind of barricade that they threw onto the ground there. So he even if Elifritz would have circled around, he would have had to zigzag through those chairs with his little 2-inch carpet knife to try to get at officers. It's just obvious that was just an egregious murder. But if you'd like to add anything else, or we could just go to the next thing.
Yeah, well, I'm just stating that it's common knowledge that there's many ways of dealing with an armed knife person, and this is knowledge that goes back, almost a full century, if not a full, beyond a full century in some cases, with police training and law enforcement training, back when while firearms were common and stuff like that, so were knives and stuff like that, because people actually defended themselves from crime and all that stuff.
Yeah, the ASP gives you about 2 feet of extra arm reach. So we're supposed to believe that 12 men with training with this weapon had to shoot this man. There's 12 of them, and they have all of about 2 foot of extra arm reach.
If they chose to use that.
Right, and I give demonstrations of the ASP that we can go through and have a
we'll be going through that here in a second. I see the video. Anyway, a helpful reminder to the mayor of Portland, Ted Wheeler. Portland Police Bureau officers need to be sent to the United Kingdom for training on how to do this. The city of Portland already sends officers to Israel for annual training there. I have no idea why City of Portland's government thinks it's a good idea to send our officers to train in such militarized, paranoid environments where police get away with murdering people constantly. This fact boggles my freaking mind. To further illustrate these filthy animals' cowardice, let us have a look at the myriad of police weapons the Police Bureau officers are trained and use regularly during their during their work as a police officer. So get this one up
Hello,
here.
everyone. Rich.
Copy link. Yeah, let's see. You don't get the law when someone uses attacks with a lethal weapon. You can defend yourself with a lethal weapon. Well, it's a box cutter. It isn't really a lethal weapon.
A box cutter can be lethal, but they were firing at him. They were firing at Elifritz at range from behind cover with a long rifle. Okay, with multiple long rifles. Okay, there's no excuse for that. Okay, he made no furtive movement.
And Murbeast, I could have taken that guy down probably almost single-handedly just using a chair, just to let you know.
That's what one guy's saying?
No, yeah, that was one guy in my chat. I'm just informing him I could actually deal with that situation in a less lethal manner using just the environment itself. So,
look, just to share with the audience some of my background, like I've reiterated before on this show, I've spent 15 years of my life homeless, dealing with people on all manner of type of drugs. I've had problems with addiction in my past, and I think I may have had a decent shot of just talking him down, but that's my own thoughts. Hindsight is all 20/20. He might have been so committed to killing himself that all I would have done was put myself at risk. But I've talked people down from some pretty intense situations. And Portland Police Bureau's policy is to isolate, cordon off, and wait for people in our CRT, our crisis response team, to talk to him, not murder him. And I've witnessed cops staging less lethal with a quarter block away and cordoning off an area, and this man was screaming, "Shoot me, shoot me, shoot me," and Portland Police Bureau was able to take him into custody. He had a knife, and they didn't kill him. So I watched this situation go down in Portland multiple times to where the suspect wasn't murdered. Okay, that's why I'm so pissed, is because I've watched officers take people into custody with knives doing it right here. But Bunny, please continue. Let's have a look at the rest of these weapons.
With your defensive tactics technique of the week. Today we're going to be looking at ASP techniques. We're going to look at some techniques that you can use with your ASP to have a pretty telling effect on your adversary. One of the things you need to consider is the drawing of your ASP. You could step back as you draw, you could step forward as you draw, depending on your distance from the bad guy. You could also use your left hand to draw if you needed to. Right now we'll look at a strong side draw, and what I'm going to do is step back slightly when I do that. I'm going to put this hand up, get back! That way I'm able to get the baton out into a position that I could do something with it from. This is keeping him at the right distance that I want. Now ideally, here I have my strong leg, my baton leg back, and that's the way I was taught in the academy, was to deliver strikes in this manner here. You're going to find that if you have your baton side forward, it's going to give you a significant reach advantage, which is always beneficial because you can stay further away while using your baton as a barrier between you and the bad guy. You also get, actually, believe it or not, more power using this baton side forward because your body is not hindered by your hip rotation. So it feels a little awkward at first, but it does work very well. Again, this hand is important, but what I want to do is I want to just torque my hips here, and I'm just going to deliver a basic strike here like this, striking with that part of it there. A common follow-up may be to pull through here, turn the baton over, and strike that way. Now, the way you hold the baton is important. If I were to strike incorrectly, something like this, it's very possible for me to disarm myself. I've done it in training, and it's more than a little embarrassing. So when I'm delivering an inward strike, think of delivering like a karate chop with your palm up, and when you do an outward strike, it's palm down. So with a little bit of speed, it'll look like this. Strike there, strike there. Notice then this hand is up to protect. I'm turning. I'm not just striking with my arm, but I'm turning my body into my strikes there and following through. If I wanted to strike lower, I don't bend at the waist. I lower my hips to deliver these strikes to the leg. You can also deliver strikes at somewhat of a downward angle. So if you're to orient the bag upward, we'll show that. So here, it would look like this, coming down at about a 45-degree angle, just like that. Being careful not to come straight overhead, because we know what that's going to result in. So these would be aimed at like the clavicle area. Also, that same strike works well. Drop the bag. If your hands are up, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to hit your hands to take those out of the fight, because now what are you going to fight with if I hit those? One of the things to consider, that strike we just showed works well to strike the suspect's hands. If you think about it, the hands are likely what's going to hurt you. They're what's going to produce a weapon, or they're what's going to punch you. So striking the hands is a very effective technique. There's also small bones here, and it's going to hurt like you know what if you get hit in the hand with a baton. So whereas someone, especially someone that's much bigger, you may strike their common peroneal area, you may not have the same type of effect that you will get out of striking someone's hand. So let's talk real quickly about target areas. This is a less lethal weapon. We're going to target, you know, arms, hands, legs. The torso is okay. You want to stay away from the upper chest for obvious reasons. You want to stay away from the head unless you can justify the use of deadly force. So primarily we're looking at extremities. And again, when you go down lower, you sort of become more susceptible. So everyone wants to strike the legs with a baton. I mean, that's fine as long as you bend your knees and stuff, but you're also more susceptible than if you're more upright and striking striking the hands and the arms. And what you can do is you can come back this way and deliver the same strike again, or you can come through and deliver the same strike from a different angle. One important thing is that if he's resisted to the point that I resort to the use of an asp, at some point I have to disengage and give him a chance to not keep getting hit. You know, if you do something to me that threatens me and I pull my asp out and I start wailing on you, just start, pretend you're feeling the effects of these. So you start becoming diminished, your ability, and at some point you're basically just like that shield was a minute ago. You're just absorbing all these strikes. Well, at some point you're going to need to disengage, give verbal commands, order him to the ground or whatever, but give him an opportunity to not just be a punching bag. He may have resisted initially, but it doesn't give you carte blanche to just be able to keep hitting him repeatedly. At some point, there has to be an end to it. So if I do give you that opportunity and you come back in again, then all bets are off. Maybe I transition to another tool, but these are some techniques that will help you when you deploy your expandable baton.
And pretty much that's, I mean, literally this is like basic swordsmanship too when you really think about it. It's just, you're, instead of using a sword, you're using a blunt object in a hopefully less than lethal means by not targeting the head or certain vital areas of the chest.
Agreed. And something else about an asp. When he talked about avoiding hitting the chest, that's because ribs are very easy to break. Any of the small bones, any of the bones of the hand, even the radius and the ulna of the upper arm, you know, from the elbow to the fingertips, the asp it's really easy to break those bones. Now, this is standard law enforcement training. I frequent law enforcement blogs and their training seminars. I've actually attended law enforcement conferences before to look at their training. You know, I have family members in North Carolina that are former law enforcement. This is all standard stuff. And this is what Portland Police Bureau trained in, is the use of this asp. Now, let's bear in mind again, there were 12, count them, a dozen officers with two foot of extra arm reach, you know, and they are trained in the ASP baton. It's just incredible to me that this man had to die.
Yeah, and not to mention also, I mean, a chair can be used, I mean, you could easily pick a chair up off the ground and use it as a shield while using an asp if you're, I mean, dexterity is good enough. I mean, for me, a chair actually be more optimal because it gives you a better chance of pinning the arms sort of away from the body, where you have a chance to have another person go for the knife. Or with the asp there, the nice advantage, as they're talking about going for the hands, you have an increased chance of disarming the person by knocking that knife clearly after 1 or 2 hits.
Well, here's one for you, Bunny.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of cops will say that, you know, we couldn't have used a taser because tasers fail sometime. Okay, smartasses. How about this as a scenario? Maybe 6 of the cops could have aimed live rounds at him, the AR variants or their sidearms, and then 6 of them could have, you know, tried to taser him. You know, because I'm sure that, you know, 6 tasers aren't going to fail all at once, you know? I mean, this was just an overwhelming, huge amount of force. These officers had options to use, but instead they went. They tried
lethal.
one. They tried one less lethal option. He was, according to all the eyewitnesses, he was shot multiple times with beanbags from the less lethal shotgun in the torso area, which had 0 effect. And that I just have to be honest and objective. They tried one less lethal option, but they had you know, 4 others available. They had their hand-to-hand training, their body mechanics, pain compliance. They had pepper spray, they had tasers, and they had asp. And they didn't try any of those.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next part. Pepper spray. Take note of the fact that you can clearly see in this police training video, pepper spray effective range is quite some distance away from the officer. And we got this. Let's see here. Give me a second here.
And this is real police training. This will show you how they're trained to use the pepper spray.
There we go. That didn't copyright. Let's see here.
And Portland Police Bureau used something called Saber Red. It's one of the more, you know, infamous
Like the one that's being shown in this video?
Yes,
Okay.
Saber Red. It's the same stuff.
My name is Mackenzie Tamel.
When I say go,
I'm a recruit officer with the Denver Police Department,
you're gonna hit your person right across the eyes.
and I'm about to get pepper sprayed.
Go!
It's a searing pain. Your eyes slam shut. It's difficult to open them. They start to tear in water.
All right, identify!
Get on the ground!
Put the gun down! Put your hands down! Do it now! Get your partners, go!
There's a lot of mucus and spitting and crying and tears because your body's trying to push all of that substance out.
Go!
OC, OC, OC.
So the purpose of this training is to let us understand what that type of pain feels like, so that if we need to use pepper spray or OC on the street, we know that we're using an appropriate level of force for the situation. It's a worthwhile training experience, I would say.
Good job!
Okay, any more comment about the pepper spray?
Just this, I understand from a law enforcement perspective because I've been there and I've talked to cops, you know, as they're waiting for medical for the people. And pepper spray in a confined space is problematic. But, you know, if one or two officers could have used it, that would have been great. I don't think that, you know, half of them, I don't think if 6 of them started pepper spraying, they would fill the whole room up and make it difficult for everyone to breathe. But 1 or 2 of them could have most assuredly used that as the first thing to take his sight. They could have taken his sight and worked from there with the ASP very easily.
Yeah, and News Now Tennessee. Ask Silent Citizen or California Guardian how that stuff feels. Because they weren't necessarily hit with the red stuff, but they were hit with some sort of spray that is a pepper, well, it's type of pepper spray or OC spray.
And they had mind you, they had his back to a wall. You know, if they advanced him in a semicircle, you know, they would have been able to control his movement very, very well. You know,
oh, definitely.
And I've seen them do it right. Like I said, like I'm against police use of force, you know, period, you know, the whole anarchist crap, but whatever. Like I've seen them do it in a way that's not going to kill the person and it takes the person into custody, you know, with a minimal amount of force. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so pissed. I've watched them use these weapons, these less lethal, in a way that's not going to end the person's life. And I'm just really super pissed, man.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is there's many ways to approach that. I mean, even with my military training from basic there, I can point out different ways they can handle that where right off the bat, it's like, okay, you spread out, you get a nice kind of thing, the semicircle you're talking about. I mean, a chair would have been a great thing to use to corral him and shield yourself at the same time, having a longer reach than what the baton would give you, and a shield at the same time for those that are, I mean, smart enough to use it, kind of thing. And it doesn't take much to figure out. Chair, shield. Also, it's got 4 legs coming out the bottom of it to help pin the extremities there very well. Right.
There's something that people need to understand as well, is those ASP, they are, depending on how they used, they're actually a lethal weapon. If you recall, listeners and viewers, the ASP training video defined being struck in the head with that thing as lethal force, because in many states in the in our country, striking someone with an object in the head is the definition of legal force. And the ASP, it has a little bead on the end of it. It's a little round shape. And that puts all the kinetic energy of the strike in a little spot. So, you know, those officers could have all had a lethal option and a non-lethal option while they're using their ASP. I mean, that's the versatility of it. So they could have, you know, maintained officer safety with those. Because I'm telling you, 1 or 2 really strong hits in the head with an ASP baton can most likely kill you. It's going to cause spider fractures through your skull, and it's going to look like someone cracking a mirror if they would MRI your head after being hit with that thing a couple times. You know, you're talking brain bleeds and death. You know, so they were that close to a lethal option if they had to take him down, you know, or you know, respond lethal force, but it's just, wow. I mean, it makes me so mad that it's hard to speak.
All right, let's move on. The taser. The cop in this video can clearly be heard telling the suspect to drop the knife in a calm, concise, compassionate manner. They were not screaming. They were not freaked out. They were not adding undue stress, fear, and I'm not even sure how do you pronounce
that's cortisol. It's the fear hormone that's dumped into your body that causes your amygdala to engage, and you're basically in fight or flight mode. So when you scare the shit out of somebody by screaming at them and telling them you're going to kill them, their prefrontal cortex in their brain shuts down because of this cortisol rush into the body, and they can only respond in a fight or flight sort of way. That's the opposite of de-escalation. What these pigs did when they entered the room and started screaming at him.
Let's see the subject. They deployed a taser. Was it meant to as it was meant and designed to function? These two cops, unlike the 8 pigs in question, are definitely not cowards. Notice how the officer's standing closer to the knife-wielding subject. Okay, I guess that's part of... Is that part of the video? Because I didn't see a taser.
That's a still image from the video. I'm just describing what you'll see in the video, but if you scroll down further, you'll see the rest
okay,
of
yeah,
it.
I'm trying to make sure I got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's a still image, brother.
You need to work on your article formatting. So, anyway, notice standing closer to the knife-wielding subject, simultaneously aiming for his sidearm and his taser at the same time. Also, keep in mind that his partner and his taser trained on the subject at all times. They maintain a constant ability to use lethal and less lethal force the whole time, maintaining a reasonable amount of officer safety. Notice how the officer ended up deploying his taser directed at the subject to look at him numerous times in an attempt to de-escalate the situation. The man was told multiple times to calm and concise way that the officers did not intend on hurting him. The reassurance, as well as the officer's calm, concise commands, more than likely is why this man survived the police encounter. And let's go ahead and watch that video. Okay. Come on. There we go.
2304. We're gonna have him just east of the target. Hold on a second. Watch, he's reaching! He's reaching! He's reaching! He's reaching! He's reaching for something! Put it down! Put it down! Put it down! Put it down!
Put it down! Hey, David, listen to me!
Put it down!
David, listen to me!
Put it down!
Tom, I got him!
Put it down! You don't want to get hurt! Put it down! Drop the knife! Look at me! Look at me!
Tom, I got him!
Look at me!
I got him, Tom! David, listen to me, okay? Listen to me. Just put the knife down. David, put
Bunny,
the knife
can you
down.
pause this a second?
Bro.
Bro, put it down.
Pausing.
Put it down.
Okay.
Okay, I think it's very important to talk about these officers and the way they're talking to their subject. Okay, at first they were screaming, and then they you see how they lowered their tone of voice, and the guy keeps saying, "David, look at me," you know, and they're going to tell him multiple times that you don't want to get hurt and we don't want to hurt you, you know, and the officer that's farthest away from this 2-point perspective that you're looking at now, actually, he's going to be aiming his pistol and the taser at the man at the same time. That way, he's maintaining his officer's safety, yet he has the ability to first use the less lethal option. And this is, you know, this should be taught. This example should be taught in police academy as to how to do it right. And let's just watch the rest of this, okay?
Got it.
Down. Don't do it. Don't do it.
David.
Don't do that.
I know how that is. I got shocked.
Don't do that. Don't do it. Don't do this. Come on. Sir, listen to me. Put the knife down. We don't want to hurt you. Come on, buddy. Look at me. Look at me, brother.
Bro, put the knife down.
Come on, don't do this.
Put it down. Put it down.
I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hurt you. Put it down. Drop the knife. David.
He's gonna leave you alive, bro.
Sir.
Leave your life. Okay, you might shock me. That will come through. And then I will try to grab it.
Come on now. Hey, brother. Come on, listen to me. Come on. We don't want to hurt you. Come on. Come on, man. Put it down. Put it. Okay, look at me. Listen to me. Listen to me.
Crossfire. Get out of the way.
Listen, dude. Relax. Relax. Just come on. Drop it.
One person speak.
Listen to me. Okay, hey.
You got it, Tom.
Talk to me, brother. Look at me. Hey. Listen. Look at me. Hey. Nobody wants to hurt you.
If I was black, you could shoot me. Because I'm white, I'm deaf.
Put the knife down.
I'm a father, dude. I'll go.
Put it down.
If you keep coming closer, you're dead.
Okay.
I got a second. When
Okay.
the hits me, the hit come
Okay.
back to you.
Okay.
I know how that is.
Okay.
I've been shot before.
Okay.
So don't fuck with me.
Hey, light him up.
Yeah,
Light him up.
No.
Turn around.
Check him.
Turn around. Turn around.
What the hell?
I also noticed how he dropped like a ton of brick. I mean, just it completely falls right over after getting hit with shock. That when a taser properly lands and embeds in a person's skin, that's generally what happens with everybody.
Yes, but to be perfectly fair, there are a certain percentage of the population that just aren't affected. They can just, go.
That's why I said in general, but yeah,
pull it right out. But yes, now these officers are not cowards. Okay, they knew they had this man at a disadvantage as far as the level of force they could bring, and they acted accordingly. Okay, they had him covered with less lethal and lethal options at the same time, but they relied on their people skills, their ability to communicate. The fact that the officer kept saying, "Look at me," and "We don't want to hurt you," and saying, "You don't want to get hurt," and "Just listen to me," and they said his name. They said, "Just look at me," as humanizing themselves to the person. This is de-escalation of force, and it's the kind of stuff, that, if we want to save lives as police accountability officer activists, we need to encourage this kind of behavior. These cops are men, using force because you can, or killing someone doesn't make you a man. Bullying someone because they bullied him to death. They had long rifles, tasers, pepper spray, ass batons, all this force, 12 of them. You're not men, you're cowards.
Yeah. And of course, Merbeast here is having fun antagonizing. Let's see. He has this this is 3 questions and 1 comment. What is this intended to prove? The cops talk to the non-violent person with a knife. What about the hopped up meth head who is violent? Same or different?
Well, the thing is that when you have a subject that's on the other side of cover and they can't possibly close the distance between you and them, and they're holding a 2-inch carpet knife, unless they're like a Marvel superhero and they can teleport across the wall, or across the room, I don't see how the officer's life was in danger. Especially the 2 or 3 that fired at him with a long rifle. Now, if he would have came at them with a knife, or he was at a distance or a range that he could have closed that distance and endangered the officer's life or any of their lives, I think they were perfectly justified in using lethal force. I despise cops, but I think they're a human being just like everyone else. They have the right to self-defense, but that's not what I saw. I saw a turkey shooting fish in the barrel is what I saw.
Yeah, and my thing is, there was more ways to deal with this less lethal manner than after filling with the beanbag rounds, going straight to shooting them with bullets. And we've already covered that a little bit. So let's go ahead and continue reading the article. At the time Elifritz's death by firing squad, There was one county sheriff's deputy present. County sheriff deputies were armed with SAPs. In the hands of someone skilled, the application of a SAP is pretty much breaks whatever small bone it hits. So we'll go ahead and copy this.
Yeah, I'll just describe what an SAP is. It's two flat pieces of spring steel, and it's got a little lead weight in the end of it, and then that's sandwiched between two big, thick pieces of leather. So it stores kinetic energy as you swing it, and yeah, if it hits your hand, you know, there's going to be a couple small bones broken in your hand. If it hits your upper wrist, you know, it's going to mess you up.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and watch this.
This is the Toronto School of British Jiu-Jitsu, and in this school we train with Green Man leather slapjacks. These are a wonderful training tool. They're made of very high quality leather over steel, and in some cases a weight as well. This is our primary self-defense thing within this class. I can slip my hand inside, I can have it in my pocket. If he unloads and throws a punch, I can cover. I can come inside, bang, hit the mask of the face here, repeatedly unload. If he reaches for me, I can smack the hand, break the bones in the hand, come back across the brachial plexus. If he goes to strangle, I can slap this out of the way and then cycle right inside this repeatedly, no matter how many times he reaches for me. I can strike with the edge, I can strike flat. So basically, you're magnifying all the kinetic energy that is going in any strike that you make. Green Man leather, absolutely fantastic. Self-defense, in our class, we train with them all the time.
Pretty good. Also, I want to add, Mirabeast. No, I'm not a black belt in chair. I'm a black belt in cane. So just keep that in mind. And the cane gives me quite a bit of reach and something to defend myself with. It's a basher. It's a stabber if I break it. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, go ahead, Mike. You want to add anything on top of what we just saw with the SAP there?
No, I mean, just the simple fact that this weapon is very, very effective in the hands of someone who's trained to use it, like Multnomah County Sheriff's deputies. Okay, like, I get stymied and stutter. That's how angry I am at what I'm seeing and what I've been analyzing from the media. I mean, and the eyewitnesses. I also have. Well, let's just check out my final thoughts and
the article. Okay.
Yeah, let's just watch the rest of the article, and once we get to the final thoughts, then I'll say that.
Okay, the police K9 unit. We know at least one K9 unit alone was also on the scene. And okay, yeah, this is an actual video, so we'll go ahead and copy link address.
Yeah, these dogs are absolutely no joke.
Oh! He's at 8 o'clock, Patrick. 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. He's out on foot now. He's trying to run, and he's running up this hill. He's going 10 o'clock, Patrick. 10 o'clock. Keep it coming around. It's a business complex, business area. He's got the dog coming at him. The dog takes him down right there. 12 o'clock, Patrick. 12 o'clock. The dog got him. The dog made the tackle right before he got into that business complex. Now he's fighting with officers. Look at that. Unbelievable. But now, thank goodness, this pursuit is over with the suspect putting up a fight with officers and a canine.
Yeah, K9 units.
You saw that. Just back the video up and show that dive, dude. That cop was hanging in the air, or that dog was.
Business complex, business area. He's got the dog coming at him. The dog takes him down right there. 12 o'clock, Patrick. 12 o'clock. The dog got him. The dog made the tackle right before he got into that.
Yeah.
You know, this is anecdotal, and this is about. It's not about the Elifritz murder, but I think it's really interesting the cognitive dissonance and the Orwellian doublespeak that's going on. The news commentator is saying the man's fighting with police when he's laying on the ground getting his ass whooped. The cops are like throwing multiple like haymakers, and they're like jamming their knees in his back and shit, and they're like, he's fighting with the cops. I'm like, Wow. So the news anchor is actually telling us what we're seeing isn't what we're seeing, and people like passively absorb this kind of media. I think it's very interesting psychology, but that's like another conversation.
I'll just put it this way: the Portland police dogs are no joke. Police dogs are trained to grab hold of a suspect, lower their center of gravity, and pull them to the ground. I'm fully confident the dog present on the scene could have used to subdue Elifritz without the loss of life. Now that I've shown you the tools the police bureau and the one county sheriff's deputy had at their disposal, would you not agree that there was no reason Elifritz had to die on that floor of the homeless shelter? Here's some food for thought. Snuff films used to be mostly explicit underground forms of pornography. Now it seems in the 21st century they have become the 6 o'clock news. The only thing Democrats and Republicans have in common, in fact, is that they both reveal that they enjoy government agents use violence against their political enemies. Until America had have a long, hard look into the.
Hey, buddy, can I read through that one?
Go ahead.
That's my final thought. So I'll just read you guys my final thoughts on this article. Okay, let me scroll down through it. Let's see here. Here is some food for thought. Snuff films used to be the most explicit underground forms of pornography. Now, it seems, in the 21st century, they have become the 6 o'clock news. The only thing Democrats and Republicans have in common is the fact that they both revel in and enjoy when government agents use violence against their political enemies. Until America can have a long, hard look into its own heart and realize that we collectively view violence as a cultural value, there will be no substantive police reform. After observing police interact with the public and researching police violence over the course of the past 7 years, I've come to this conclusion. This is a cultural problem, not exclusively a law enforcement problem. Fundamental change in our society is incumbent on all of us. And, you know, there's a final look at the Elifritz snuff film, which I guess we should show it again, Bunny, just for the late viewers, because there's people coming into my chat room saying, what did I miss? Basically, guys, there was an egregious police murder in Portland of a man that didn't have to die. And the link to the full article that you guys can read and watch these videos yourselves is in the info section underneath my live stream. So let's...
It's also in the description of my YouTube video. So here's the video once more, so you guys can watch it again. Those are the less lethal rounds there from the banging.
Oh my God, please God. I am.
Yeah, those chairs definitely would have given him one hell of an extra reach there.
Yeah, and like I said, I interviewed the men that was in the shelter attending the NA meeting, and they piled up chairs on both sides. If you look at the video carefully, you'll see rows of chairs blocking Elifritz in on two sides of that barrier the police shot at from behind cover. You know, if police were concerned about not breaking a nail or maybe breaking a sweat, that might be their reasoning. Maybe they just didn't want to get their clothes dirty. Maybe they just wanted to kill Elifritz from across the room so that they didn't have to, break a sweat. I'm so infuriated at this point. I also have, and I want to show you this. I'll link it, and I want the audience to see it. I interviewed a dozen people from that homeless shelter, but the one interview that was most consistent with the video evidence I used, because there's a telephone game, and I'm not sure if people were telling a story after telling a story after telling a story. So the one that's most consistent with the video camera, and the one that was told with most redundancy. So the one that jives with more of the other reports I uploaded. Now, this is something.
Hold on, Mike. Hold on. Merbeast. Yeah. I got a proposal for you. Get on Discord. If you really want to debate the issue, get on Discord. I'm willing to pull you in. I am willing to blood sport the second half of this hour.
Sure.
Just to give you a heads up. So.
But one quick thing, Bunny.
Go ahead, Mike.
I have a quick video to show. It's the interview of one of the men from the shelter. As Elifritz lay there dying, he was holding the carpet knife in his hand. And I was told by every person that I interviewed that one of the cops there said, if he wants to die, let him die. So he was laying there dead with the carpet knife in his hand, or on the way to being dead. And that's how compassionate these cops are. When he's no longer a threat, when he's laying there dead, one of the cops actually said, if he wants to die, let him die.
Yeah. And Merbeast, no, I didn't say block you. I'm not no, I'm telling you to come on. Come to the voice chat.
I'm more than willing to have a debate and or argument with this person, as long as, Bunny moderates and makes us both take our turns so we don't talk over each other. I don't care.
Anyway, it's called Internet Blood Sports, Merbeast. You come on, you debate, you argue, you yell, at least with me. So anyway, Mike Bluehair might be the one moderating this one, because I would have some fun. But I'm telling you, get onto the Discord. The link's in the description on getting in. Come on, I'm waiting for you. Let's
watch this interview, okay?
Give me the link. Where's the link at, man? So.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, you're supposed to get that to me before you start talking about it. So.
No, I do what I want. Don't judge me. Okay.
We got a lot to work with on you, man, for this show stuff.
Hold on. Video manager.
And Ladybird, I'm technically an illegal analysis on YouTube also, so.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Ladybird. Thanks for watching, by the way. Let's see.
But it's sort of funny how Merbeast was like, fine, censor me. It's like, I don't think anybody is censoring him.
Bring him into the conversation.
I'm telling him, come on, bring it. Bring it. Bring the voice chat. If you really want to make up on the yelling, bring it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I just sent you the interview that the folks can watch of one of the eyewitnesses that watched Elifritz be murdered by Portland Police Bureau.
So, let's go ahead and...
Yeah, and Merbeast, you're welcome to be on the show. Just find that Discord link and let's make it happen.
Okay, tell me what you seen in there, seen and heard.
All right, yeah. My name is Josh Johnston. I was in the mission last night, and what I heard and saw was with the guy. We were in an AA meeting, and about 15 minutes before the meeting was over, which would be about 7:40, 7:45, a gentleman walks in and has no shirt and no pants. Well, his pants were on, but he had a big accident. You can see streak marks on the back of his pants, and he was begging for a shirt. It was cold and rainy out, so none of us really thought much about it. So he got a jacket out of the trash can that had donated clothes in it, and then he put that on, but he didn't leave. He stayed in the area. I heard he walked out in and out a couple times and was being unstable. And then before you know it, there's cop lights across the street, but none of us thought too much about it because cops come up here all the time. and we just let the meeting go on. But when it got down to the last, if I'd say the meeting was almost over, they were ready to wrap it up, do the closing prayer and everything. And then the guy starts talking to himself and said, "No, you're not going to take me out. Like, they killed my family." He was referring to the cops. And he starts stabbing his neck and was bleeding already. Like, by the time he came at us at the chairs, he was already had blood coming down his neck in two different spots. And he kept on, didn't want to go out there because he knew he was probably not going to make it. And he got all of us somehow, just by his actions moving towards us, he got us to move up and out back to the back of the building to the left, which is by the bathrooms and the showers. So we all kind of huddled back there, but our goal wasn't to get back in the corner. Our goal was to get out through the back door. And the kitchen ended up being locked, so we kind of were forced to hang back in the back corner. And within a minute or two, the cops were breaching in, and they had shot beanbags at first, non-lethals at first at the guy. He was in the back. He wasn't far from us in the back corner. And I actually saw the beanbags bounce off him once or twice. It really didn't seem to faze him. But somehow between that and before the AR-15s came out, he had made his way from not so close to us to back out heading towards the front. And he was on the left side or the right, as you walk in, the right side of the stairwell, which would have, and us in the back would be our left. And he never went probably closer to 10 or 15 feet even to the front door. He was probably a good 15 feet away from the front door at the moment where the cops used lethal force on him. He never got the knife out of his hand. Apparently, like he never dropped the knife out of his hand. And the last thing I remember, I heard say, if he wants to die, let him die. It's pretty sure what the cops were saying. I heard the cops said that everybody else told me the cops did say, drop the knife. It was a box cutter. It really wasn't a big knife, just a box cutter. And I didn't hear that because where I was in the back, all the commotion with everybody around me, I didn't pay attention. I couldn't hear that. But I did hear the other thing, like I said, if he wants to die, let him die. And about 30 seconds later, the sounds caught about 5 or 6 rounds of the assault rifles, and it didn't. To me, it wasn't that loud, so I wasn't sure if it was what it was, but it was, and I was like, they got him, and we all cleared out.
So you sat there and heard the cops say, if he wants to die, let him die?
Sorry, like, I don't think there was even an if. It's like, he wants to die, let him die. Like, he had a death wish, apparently. Like, he did. Weird.
All right. You seen them fire less lethal at him?
Yes, at first I absolutely did, and then that didn't faze him. He just kind of like shook it off, like whatever. And before you know it, I probably say within 2 minutes of that, just 2 minutes, he ended up getting his last couple. You know, he didn't even say another word really that I heard. I don't know if anybody else here heard anything, but at that point, it was maybe 2 minutes after the last lethals were, and he was gone. They took him out.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Merbeast, you said you're in the Discord. Are you in the public voice chat hangout? Are you the person going by Dano on Discord? And of course, that's going to take a few minute the cycle through and all that stuff. I want to make sure I'm pulling in the right person from the public chat into the live stream chat. Banner on his channel says never. Let's see, never offensive by accident. On Merbeast. Okay, yeah. Let's see here. Mike is muted, so I guess he is taking care of some at the moment. Let's see here. But it is quite the interesting thing. Yeah, and as you did hear the statement. Oh, I see the person going by Merbeast in the chat there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull him in. He's got himself muted at the moment. So, Merbeast, I have pulled you into the chat. Let me know when you get your voice and all that set up. Go ahead and let us know by unmuting yourself and go ahead and speak and all that stuff. Book him, Dano. Oh man, I love my chat. But Okay, yeah, I hear you. Go ahead, say a few more things. I want to make sure I got your audio just right, so.
Things.
Okay, yeah, I just need to up your volume so this way you're going to be about equal to where everybody else will be hearing you. Say a few more things real fast.
Fast.
Okay, there we go, there we go. Mike, you back from whatever the hell you're doing? I swear, Mike Blue Hair has a tendency to take off at the wrong moments, doesn't he? But let us go ahead and.
Sorry, I was fapping. I have a large bucket of Crisco in the bathroom, so I had to squeeze off a few rounds from the AIDS rifle. But I'm back.
Okay, there we go. So we got you back.
If you were
Okay.
a master.
Huh?
Later, you would need Crisco, bro.
Hey, you know, I got to use something to get the other hand in there to rock my prostate.
Yeah.
You may be a master.
Anyway, Merbeast, go ahead and say your piece. Let's go ahead and open up what you got to say on this.
So you guys are saying it's murder. That's fun. Definition. It's probably defined in the Oregon statutes. This, however, probably is not murder.
Can I respond to that?
You can respond to whatever you want.
Okay, cool, right on. I agree with you. Legally, if the DA is going to be able to demonstrate that he made even the slightest little twitch that would make them think it was a furtive movement, they will legally be allowed to have used lethal force. Morally and ethically, I believe it's murder. Now, police have the legal authority to kill someone if they make what's called a furtive movement. So I think this will be a legal kill, murder, but morally and ethically, I don't think it would be. And also, if it were anyone else, see, Oregon is a castle doctrine state.
Hold on. Just step back.
Cool.
You said that police were legally allowed to kill someone if they make a furtive movement.
Yes.
I'm going to say that is absolutely and categorically false.
In Oregon, they can. If they say that they were reaching for a weapon, they've gotten.
Supreme Court, it has to be reasonable. In this, in terms of the Fourth Amendment, that would be a seizure. That would be either a detainment or an arrest. Use deadly force in that, or actually any force. It has to be reasonable. That the standard was set out in Graham v. Connor. It's 1989 Supreme Court case.
Mm-hmm.
Reasonable. And the standard they use is it has to be reasonable as far as the other police officers at the scene or another reasonable police officer.
Right.
And then the finder of fact, typically a jury, will determine whether or not in the eyes of law enforcement.
Okay, here's the thing. In legal theory and in the law, sure, you're correct. But everyone doesn't have equal and equitable access to Supreme Court rulings. Everybody's not going to be able to be held and get their case to the Supreme Court. In real life examples, I'll give an example. There was a woman killed by Portland Police Bureau here in Portland by the name of Kendra James. She reached into her purse while she was being detained at a for a traffic citation, lane changes or whatever, without, making signals and whatnot. And they shot her. And they got away with it. It's because everybody can't afford to get their case heard by the Supreme Court.
You don't get your case heard by the Supreme Court. There are remedies out there. So first of all, if the DA decides not to prosecute, that's terrible, and I'll grant you that.
That's what happens more often than not.
There is one or two, depending on the situation, statutes that will allow you to sue, 1983 and 1985, subsection 3. One of those two will probably cover it. And then there are also federal criminal codes that if you can, for some reason, convince a federal prosecutor this has merit, or that they didn't correctly, then there is a federal criminal charge that they could be brought under. So there are a lot of lawyers out there that will bring up 1983 suits, because with the 1983 suit, there's a lot of potential money out there.
Look, I want shoulda, coulda, woulda. I want, I need, I can't.
That's what this whole stream was.
Wait, listen. With a pillow over my head, everyone doesn't have equal and equitable access to even have a lawyer. Okay, police are protected in Oregon, especially in Portland, by the Portland Police Officers Bill of Rights, qualified immunity, which raises the standard of how someone can get prosecuted, a cop can get prosecuted. It raises the standard. It makes it so much harder to prosecute them for anything. Then they get Portland Police Bureau's union. Then they have, a corporate media who's going to frame a narrative in their favor. And it's just not as easy as you say. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights are not magical. No, everybody
willing to take it.
Name a cop.
I am required to give.
Name an Oregon cop that was sued for killing someone. I can think of a couple of them. There's Leo Besner. Besner. It can happen, but it's not likely, and it doesn't happen very often. And the reasons why is because of the legal barriers that I mentioned, the qualified immunity, and their special version of their Bill of Rights.
Hey guys, okay, let me. Okay, let Murby speak. Go ahead, Murby.
Lawyers out there who will do pro bono work. There are lawyers out there who will take 1983 lawsuits on a percentage. There's also the ACLU. There are
yeah, go ahead, continue.
Will take the case. I'm saying that there are groups out there. You can go to law schools. A lot of law schools will give you legal advice. They'll have the law students in the legal aid rooms that'll help you figure out if there is a case. Now the problem on a lot of these things, like let's say, for example, that this particular case, since it's in front of us, where this guy's armed with a knife, would his family have a 1983 suit? And that's all of a sudden now you're asking a question of fact. What can I prove? What can I show? Am I likely to resolve this? Is the city likely to settle with me? Because a lot of times the cities will look at this and they'll be like, okay, well, the cost of actually going through with this whole lawsuit, and even if we win, we're going to spend this amount of money defending it. And they're going to be like, well, we could just give the family that amount, have them sign a waiver that says that they can't.
Hey, Murby, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it seems like your connection is a little bit spotty. You're sort of robot-y. Because you cut in and out for a split second there, and it's sort of distorted. Huh?
I've been accused of being a robot.
I'm really trying to listen because I want you to have your say.
It's just your voice is coming through in a very distorted way. I mean, it's sort of cutting in and out here and there.
I'd like to respond to some of the stuff that I heard before. You mentioned, Murbeast, the ACLU. Well, the problem, I'm an activist and I've dealt with the courts quite a bit. I've, had my own tort claims. I've, basically worked for free as a evidence gathering person for people that wanted to sue the city of Portland. And the ACLU is overwhelmed. They have to cherry pick which cases they will represent. And it's a very small percentage of all the people that make complaints to them. You have to practically know Matt DeSantos, the head of the ACLU here in Portland, to get a conversation with him. And it's not by any malice, but it's that is kind of disingenuous to just say the ACLU will help you. And also, when you deal with local,
I didn't say they will help you,
but they could. Yeah, they could.
They could. Right.
In Magic Fairyland,
they're one of many options that are potentially available for you.
What I'm telling you is that these options are limited. Everyone doesn't have fair and equitable access to lawyers. A lot of times cities do settle out with money, but that doesn't really have the kind of effect that we need to have any kind of law enforcement reform. A lot of times the city attorneys, the armies of shark lawyers that work for a city, will come to the bereaved family with a proposal. Hey, we'll give you $200,000, or we'll give you $500,000 if you sign these disclosure agreements saying that you won't, sometimes write books or talk to the media or seek an apology. And the lawyer, the cops involved end up getting insulated from any kind of criminal prosecution because of the particulars in the settlements. So the settlements end up just being a liability right off of the cities, and the cops don't get punished. But one thing I wanted to say, Oregon is a castle doctrine state, meaning if someone breaks into your home and they're trying to kill you, you can use lethal force. But outside the house, if they're bringing lethal force to you, you can kill them, but you can't use lethal force in Oregon to defend your property. So it's really weird. But police, the standard that they can use lethal force quite a bit different than that of your average person, and I think that's wrong. I think just making a furtive movement is no reason to murder someone. Which Elifritz did not. Elifritz did not make any aggressive movement towards anyone. He didn't try to hurt one of the cops. He only tried to hurt himself. He didn't try to hurt any of the other folks. And I scrubbed through the video. What?
Eyewitnesses stated that he was charging the cops. I Googled it real quick right at the very beginning of the stream, and I actually copy-pasted the responses. Eyewitnesses.
Are you reading this in the print media?
I opened up KGW8 KGW8 News. Man killed by police at homeless shelter was once a part of the supremacist group. And I copied and pasted some of the stuff in there. About halfway down the page, the man who posted the video of the shooting says Elifritz lunged at officers with the knife, and the officers were 100% justified in shooting Elifritz.
That is not what the video shows. The videos do not show Elifritz ever.
That is what Morgan Pickering, a person I don't know.
Okay, but that's not what the video shows. I scrubbed through that video. Look, I scrubbed through that video.
The law is that the videos don't always show accurately everything. There's frames per second issues, there's people getting in the way, there's angles, there's all sorts of weird things that
That's a moot point. He couldn't teleport across the room like some kind of magic fairy and cut one of those cops' necks. He would have had to zigzag through the chairs or move through the physical barrier.
Visible evidence that counters your narrative. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's justified. I'm saying that it is a legal question on whether or not it was a justified shoot, but there is evidence that would support the idea that it is justified. We have a lot of things going on in here, and making a legal claim that it was a murder.
I'm making a moral claim that when you're standing across the room from a man with a 2-inch knife and he's behind cover and he cannot touch you, you are killing someone that doesn't need to be killed. When you have 12 men that are armed with pepper spray and tasers and asbatons and body mechanics and pain compliance techniques, and they can't take a man down
Police confirm it was
with a
48-year-old
2-inch knife, they're cowards.
Interception. I'm a better Monday morning quarterback than you are.
I'm sorry, man. I can't hear what you're saying.
Yeah, your connection.
Monday morning quarterbacking. I don't know what else to tell you.
I can't hear. I heard the word quarterbacking.
Mike, stop. No, your connection. It's really your voice is coming through where it's really distorted, and so I understood. You said morning back quarterback thing there, but it's just really garbled even for the audience. Are you able to like reset your connection or something like that? And actually, better yet, what does it say at the bottom where it says voice? Is it showing like a yellow or red, or is it straight green?
At the bottom, green.
It's showing
Voice
green.
connected.
Okay, maybe it's your mic. I don't know why. It's just really distorted for some strange reason, and it's becoming really difficult to.
I actually have to go. I'm sorry. I have stuff to do. This was fun.
Well, thank you for trying to talk to us.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
How the legal aspect of this was completely backwards on your stream. Have a great day.
Okay.
Maybe.
Maybe we'll have a chance to have him on a different day or something like that. That's sort of sort of
really-
sucks because I really wanted to hear more about what he's got to say. But go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I couldn't understand his mic, and I think the guy was very smart, and articulate, and it's a shame that I couldn't understand what he was saying, because the parts that I did understand, he was providing a really good argument, like I hope he'll come on when the mic's working better sometime. But yeah, my feelings is this: like morally and ethically, it's just wrong. It's repugnant. It's murder in that regard. That's my thoughts.
Yeah.
There's no reason why 12 men can't subdue a man with a 2-inch carpet knife. There's not armed with everything they were armed with. There's just I'm not gonna believe that. No.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I ended up pulling up the wiki article real fast. I was trying to pull up the KG W8 news thing real fast for to take a quick look at, double check what he was saying, but I'll worry about that for a different time. Let's see here. But anyway, well, we got another 10 minutes. We might as well do a quick look at something else. If you can give me a second to find it again real fast. Why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit more about the shooting here while I dig this up real fast. Or if you got anything else to add for that, Mike. Mike.
Yeah.
I said talk. Fill the dead air. Are you listening? Pay attention.
I am
busy
listening.
here.
My significant other just came in and she's giving me those sad eyes, the sad puppy dog eyes, like, why didn't you make me dinner? So I was distracted.
You're working.
Sad eyes.
Let's see here. Let's see. That's not. Oh wait. Oh, perfect. Ah, yes. A Tech Dirt article.
Tech Dirt.
Oh yes, this actually fits perfectly with what we're talking about already. So I'll go ahead and pull this up and get it on the thing, and give me a sec. I'll also post it in the live stream chat here, so you can pull it up on your end. I think the title will get you quite well. And
oh yeah, I'll check out the Watch Together. So.
Supreme Court says shooting a non-threatening person without warning is good police work. The Supreme Court, without additional input, has decided it is still okay for officers to kill as long as they can express some sort of fear in courtroom setting.
That's the furtive movement I was referring to.
In Kessel v. Hughes, the justices overturned without briefing or an oral argument the ruling of the U.S. Court of Appeals of the Ninth Circuit in favor of Amy Hughes, whom Police Corporal Andy Kessler shot and wounded in 2010. Kessel had responded to reports that Hughes was in the street with a large knife, screaming and crying very loudly. When he arrived, he saw Hughes approaching another woman. After Hughes ignored orders to drop the knife and continued to move toward the woman, Kessel fired at Hughes. The shot struck Hughes several times, although her injuries were not life-threatening. Hughes filed a lawsuit against Kessel, alleging that the shooting violated her federal civil rights. A federal district court judge ruled for Kessel, but the Ninth Circuit reversed today the unsigned opinion. The Supreme Court reversed the Ninth Circuit ruling. The opinion explained that if Kessel had violated the Fourth Amendment by using deadly force against Hughes, which the ruling described as a proposition that is not at all relevant, Kessel still could be sued because any rights that he might have violated were not clearly established, a key factor whether government officials enjoy immunity from lawsuits.
That's the qualified immunity that I was referring to when I was trying to have that conversation.
Let's see. Officers, some more from the court opinion that they highlight in the article. Officer Andrew Kessel shot Amy Hughes while she was speaking with her roommate, Sharon Chadwick, outside their home. The record properly construes at this stage shows that at the time of the shooting, Hughes stood stationary about 6 feet away from Chadwick, appeared composed and content. Apologetic scripts of record 109 record, and held a kitchen knife down at her side with the blade facing away from Chadwick. Hughes was nowhere near the officers, had committed no illegal act, was suspected of no crime, and did not raise the knife in the direction of Chadwick or anyone else. Faced with the facts, the two other responding officers held their fire, and one testified that he wanted to continue trying verbal commands to see if that would work. But Kessel, he thought it necessary to use deadly force, and so without giving warning that he would open fire, he shot Hughes 4 times, leaving her seriously injured. Kessel did not wait, and this is a skip here. Kessel did not wait for Hughes after much less respond to the officers' rushed commands. Instead, Kessel immediately and unilaterally escalated the situation without giving any advance warning that he would shoot, and without attempting less dangerous methods to de-escalate the shooting. He dropped to the ground and shot 4 times at Hughes, who was stationary, through a chain link fence. Sotomayor then goes on and points out this isn't just...
Yeah, wait a minute. Wait, Bunny.
Yeah.
So she was on the other side of a chain link fence, and the officers shot her through the fence, and that was a justified shoot?
I'm guessing so.
Wow.
We're just reading excerpts, and also, but she was standing 6 feet away from someone else who I guess was next to her.
Oh.
We're just reading excerpts that are in this article here of the case.
No. Wow. Okay. Talk about shooting caged animals. Okay. All right.
Sotomayor, Justice Sotomayor goes on to point out that this isn't just qualified immunity problems; it's a Supreme Court problem. As it's how they interpret it. Yeah. As I previously noted, this court routinely displays an unflinching willingness to summarily reverse courts for wrongly denying officers the protection of qualified immunity, but rarely intervenes where the courts wrongly afford officers the benefit of qualified immunity in these same cases. Such as a one-sided approach to qualified immunity transforms the doctrine into absolute shield for law enforcement officers, gutting the deterrent effect of the Fourth Amendment. The decision won't make nation's policy any better. It will make everything that's already bad even worse. The majority today exasperates the troubling asymmetry that its decision is not just wrong on the law, it also sends an alarming signal to law enforcement officers and the public. It tells officers they can shoot first and think later, and it tells the public the unreasonable conduct will go unpunished. Let's see here. And for one reasonable dispense, opening pleasantries. Whether it's palpably unreasonable, however, it ignores the Supreme Court's holding that it is not so glaringly wrong. The majority of the court, to a majority of the Americans and the majority of police officers. In baseball, a tie goes to the runner. In a police shooting, the tie goes to the cop. If there is any question of threat, the law is prepared to give the cop the benefit of doubt. And whether there is any question of a threat is the decision only the cop can make. We don't get to get a vote.
Yep. The odds are always stacked against the individual versus the cop for this reason. There is no fair and equitable access to the courts. And even when we get in the courts, if it's against a law enforcement officer, the Supreme Court, the justices, the appellate courts, more often than not, decide on the favor of law enforcement. Like Bunny just said, if it's a tie, the tie automatically goes to the pig. I mean,
well,
the
no,
cop.
this is actually part of the court document. That
Right.
what I just stated was part of the legal document. It's
right.
not fully
It's actually
published yet.
It states it outright and says that.
Yeah, this decision isn't fully published and signed off yet. So, but yes, we're seeing quite the interesting issue. And as is, when it comes to legal access to lawyers, that can be a bar in itself. Finding not just being able to afford the lawyer, it's also being able to find a lawyer to take the case.
Right. And I want to talk about that for a second. Okay, I've dealt with this, dozens of times, talking to people, trying to get people lawyers for various police misconduct issues. Lawyers are reluctant to take a case against a cop in the municipality they live in because they have to live with those cops. Okay, it's all political. Once you are raising a legal issue against a cop, it's no longer two individuals having a legal battle. It's one individual or one family against a whole city, because there's armies of city attorneys that work on behalf of the law enforcement officer. So it's all political, meaning that, very few lawyers will take a case against a cop. I mean, people like to throw out ACLU and they like to say, well, there's lawyers that'll take your case pro bono. No, there's lawyers that'll take your case pro bono if they think they have a 100% chance of winning. If there's any doubt in their mind, they're looking at potential loss of money and man hours that they could have been charging someone else $200 an hour for. And there's not a lot of people out there with golden souls that are gifts to humanity. That's not in a lawyer's personality to just give away, $30,000, $40,000 and not expect any kind of return. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
disingenuous.
Yeah, and I'll explain a little bit more about the what I'm sort of been dealing with for the U.S. federal courthouse incident over here in Eugene. As is, there is already precedent established with the settlement court case out of New York City for the exact situation that I was thrown off the court property there with. And I talked with lawyers, and every single one I've talked with, a majority that I've talked with where I had a chance to have a conversation, they say I have a case, but they're not able to take it up because either they're too busy or they got, or they don't feel up, they're up to the task of being able to handle a federal case like that. And then on top of that, generally, some of them don't even have the money to the football it. And I'm sitting there trying to work out, saying, hey, if you're willing to go ahead and give me a price, I will raise the money and bring it in. I will get the money and bring it in to push this case. Just let me know how much. But as is, I have yet to find a lawyer for that specific case. It's not easy finding a lawyer, and I've been through several lawyers' offices for that specific case.
Yeah, and could you imagine a case involving a death? Like, yours is just grotesque civil rights violations.
Yeah,
like,
not to mention there's no arrest or anything like that, so there isn't really a big damage issue. But I'm still wanting to push a court decision on that because it's going to impact directly with the U.S. Marshals on that.
Yeah, you've had due process violations galore with the whole confiscation of your private property, all kinds of fun stuff,
Yeah, hold on, NJ Diver. I will go ahead and paste that into the chats so everybody can see that. That's going out. Okay. Yeah, but it's as is, the access to lawyers is not equal. And even you can sit there and apply to the ACLU. And as you stated, they're very choosy when it comes to the cases they pick up.
Look, I want to talk about that for a second. Okay. I'm an anarchist and I don't care about the left-right fight, but I have to be honest. The ACLU cherry-pick their cases, and more often than not, they pick leftist. Okay, so if you're on the right side of politics and you're trying to get the ACLU to help you, it has to be a very overt usurpation of your civil rights, and it has to be a very easy win for the ACLU, or they're not going to represent you. They have represented and written letters of concern for people on the right, but they don't do it very often,
Yeah. And anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, that's like half the voting population of America is on the right. You know, so that's like 50% roughly of the people, you know, that aren't going to get help from the ACLU, you know?
Yeah, and the ACLU also, I mean, when it comes to, let's say if it involves a firearm, chances are the ACLU won't even pick up the case either.
Oh, yeah, they very rarely help people 2A amendment things, but they do sometimes, but not very often.
Yeah, it's extremely rare to the point where I don't think I've seen a specific case myself on it with all the stuff I've read that they've been involved in. And it's just, it's their personal, it's that, corporations or nonprofits thing. It's what they go by. And if you want something like that, you're better off with going to another group. I mean, like Open Carry Texas, who, I mean, greatly supports Second Amendment kind of stuff and all that. But I mean, and there's also some legal insurance shield company that actually helps out with that kind of stuff. But they only take up cases that are overwhelmingly dealing with the firearms issue, where it is the main issue of the police incident or violation of rights or whatever that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. But as is, we are at the top of the hour. It was quite the interesting show. We had a random commenter guest come in and speak their piece about the stances that Mike Bluehair has, and well, my comments that are specifically about the case and how it could be handled. Well, a little bit on the verbal side. Of course, we had that all in the chat there. Mike, do you want to go ahead and say your closeout stuff, or should I say my closeout stuff first? How do you want to handle all that?
I would like if we could, I'll say my closeout stuff, you say your closeout stuff, and then we'll just end with Daddy's a Pony. No spoiler alert, but I put the link to the Daddy's a Pony so you can throw that in the Yield Watch Together if you want. It's in the Discord there. But yeah,
I'm just going to go ahead and play that in the regular video thing, since you don't really need to see it, so.
Sure. Now, play that at the very end. Okay, so I'll do my spiel. Portland Police Bureau, Swing Shift, Central Precinct, you murderous dogs, I will be watching you. I will be calling you out as the low-life scumbag waste of skin that you are every time I see you. From this moment until you are out of uniform, you will be torn up one side and down the other every time I see you. You will learn to flinch as I approach. I'm not going to hurt you. I don't wish you any harm, but I am going to show you the error of your ways. You will learn to fear the camera. Every traffic ticket you get, every time you sneeze, every time you fart in public, I'm going to put it up on a billboard, okay? You 8 officers have my undivided attention. So, yeah, thank you for watching. Good people in the chat room, people that I ignore because I'm dyslexic and I get confused by all the funny buttons and little screens, and my ADHD doesn't allow me to communicate with you guys so well. But thank you so much. If you're watching this on Steemit, smash that up button, re-steam this, because I am your friendly neighborhood cop watcher, yada, 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 crap. Do check out the article I wrote in Steemit that Bunny and I went through ad nauseum. It's probably one of the better things that I've come up with in a while, just because I was so passionate about the issue. Sign up for Virtual Shield. If you want to help me out, sign up for the Virtual Shield VPN, and that will help you anonymize and make your internet activity safer. Because let's just be honest, Uncle Sam hates us. He thinks of the American people as basically an enemy combatant, and he has teeth and horns, and he's out to get you. So you may as well anonymize your internet activity. And thanks a lot, to my co-host. Thanks a lot, Bunny. And that's about all I got to say.
Yeah, and Joshua Haynes, what specific links are you referring to? Are you referring to like the controlled airspace thing when it comes to drones, or are you wanting like the legal stuff? Because that's that you're asking for. It's a very broad question you giving right there. So I need to know specifically what you're wanting in order to sort of post that in the chat for you. But while you're you're waiting to well, I'm waiting for a reply on that stuff. Anyway, this is strategic non-compliance. As is, you can hear it on mine or Mike Bluehair's channels. Of course, my channel live streams twice. Well, you can hear it twice a week. Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Pacific time frame. Fridays, 6 p.m. Pacific time frame. So this way, both West Coast and East Coast has a chance to be able to participate in the live discussion, or have a chance to, just like earlier today, where we had a person that had a counter opinion to Mike Bluehair's and partially mine on the situation, was able to hop in and join us on the chat, even though unfortunately it was very distorted. Hopefully they maybe we'll have them on again in the future and have further discussions on that. But anyway, you can go ahead and catch me when I do live streams on YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, Mixer, and Stream.me. I'm looking at getting Ustream up and going, but I gotta finish setting that up. And Joshua says airspace. I'll go ahead and pull those up while this next little fun video is playing from Mike Bluehair. And so this way we'll have a chance. So give me a second here to get this to pop back up. And and that, and I'll pull that other stuff up and post that in the chat.
Are you tired of Big Brother eyeballing your internet activity? Are you paranoid that your ex-girlfriend may be hiring hackers to plaster your O-face all over the interwebs? Well, friends, you can protect your internet activity with Virtual Shield VPN. Virtual Private Network anonymizes your internet activity. So next time you're feeling the urge, you can reach out and grab that jar of lotion and your favorite superhero towel and get your business done. That's right, Virtual Shield VPN.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, do it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Nay, nay. Daddy's a pony. Daddy's a pony. Nay.
Daddy's a pony. Daddy's a pony. Daddy's a pony. Daddy's a pony. Riding all night long.
All right. I just posted links. They'll be in there shortly, Josh. So you guys have a nice evening. I got some other business to take care of along with Mike. So have a nice... yeah?
They heard Daddy was a pony, right? I just didn't see it.
Yeah.
Because Daddy's important. You got to ride that pony, baby. All right.
All right. You guys have a good night.